previous video, I talked to you a little bit about direction and acceleration, and I didn't give you any quantitative values for that. So that might have made it a little bit challenging in terms of understanding this in terms of change in velocity. So to make this a little bit clearer, I'm going to show you now that same scenario, but with some quantitative values. So we've still got our positive and negative velocities going forwards and backwards. So as you can see here, I've increased from an initial velocity of 0 to 6 meters per second. So if I were to put this into my change in velocity formula, which as you might notice is a little component of the acceleration formula. So where v is my final velocity of 6 and my initial is 0, my change in velocity is 6. Therefore I'm going to have a positive value, because if I divide that by any time value, it'll be a positive value. So I continue now traveling in the positive direction, and then I'm at 6 and I slow down to 0 meters per second. So now I have a final velocity of 0 and my initial velocity was 6. So my change in velocity is now negative 6. Therefore I'm going to have a negative acceleration. As I now just turn around and accelerate in the opposite direction, we're going to start with an initial velocity of 0 and end with a final velocity of minus 6. So my change in velocity now is minus 6 minus 0, give me a change in velocity of negative 6, therefore an acceleration that is negative. I'm going to continue down with with a constant velocity, but then slowing down to 0. So my final velocity will be 0 and my initial velocity will be minus 6, but notice how the double negative now becomes positive. Therefore I have a change in velocity of 6, therefore a positive acceleration. So now I hope that you've seen this quantitatively. This should actually help you a little bit more in understanding that direction of acceleration. If you have any questions, ask your teachers.